Welcome back to the podcast, nerds. It's good to have you along for the joyride. I am Larry Brantley, and I'm sitting here with my two besties, Micah Donahoe.
Greetings, programs.
And Brent Williams.
Willkommen.
Danke. And we are the Nerd Herfers. We are three middle-aged guys who enjoy cigars and whiskey and all the nerdy shit we loved when we were kids. Hey, if you've never tuned into the program before, welcome. Glad to have you along. You can join up today and become a part of the Nerd Herfer. What do we call ourselves? An army? A collective? Not militia.
Nerd Herfer Nation.
Nerd Herfer Nation. I kind of like.
There you
My
go.
wife would love the alliteration on that, by the way.
I like collective as well.
Nerd Herfer. Oh, see, that's another good one.
Collective wins.
That's another, Nerd Herfer Collective.
There we
you
go.
will be assimilated.
Yes!
That's going to be underneath the. Okay, we're printing T-shirts as we speak. This is literally happening right now.
Hold on, I got a
Such good
Sharpie.
idea.
Hold on a second.
No, that's Micah's
design for the
That's
t-shirt.
Micah's special shirt. Don't write on it. Anyway, you can go to nerdherfers.com, hit the subscribe button, and we'll let you know every time a new episode drops. Anytime we've got special nerdy stuff coming up, you will be among the first to know. We've got a super cool merch shop. Highly, and I'm not even kidding, guys. We are getting into the business discussion after the show of Nerd Herfer Nation. That just came out. That just rolls off the tongue. We have to put some merch out for that.
Yep.
Right?
All right.
Okay, so Mike is working on the logo. I can already see Brent's wheel spinning. It's going to be fantastic.
Also, don't forget to mention our new cigar shop.
Well, I don't need to mention it because you just did. Oh, you
Okay.
wanted me to go into detail.
I wanted you to talk about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes. Mr. Williams has been busy at work in his little hobbit hole, and he got a new part of the website done up. We now have a Nerd Herfer cigar shop. So all of the cigars, or let's say most of the cigars that we reviewed on the show, you now go out to nerdherfers.com, click on cigar shop, you can scroll through the ones we reviewed, and you can now click through to Cigars International, who we have partnered with, and you can get those cigars delivered right to your very own home or wherever it is you smoke your cigars. Why are you shaking your
I'm
head?
just imagining all the places you can smoke cigars.
Well, there's a lot of them, but preferably a mailing address would be helpful.
I'm going to test that with DoorDash.
yeah.
So if you are in the kind of person who enjoys cigars, by all means, go out to the Nerd Herfer Cigar Shop. Click through, and that helps us, of course, because all the click-throughs help us. So thank you very much. Okay, here's how the show works, guys. Basically, every week, one of the nerds brings the cigars that we're going to try. One of the nerds brings the whiskey bottle that we're going to sample. And the third nerd brings the topic of conversation. And that's how it works. And now it's time for... Nerd News! That's right, it's last week's news today. You've already heard it, but you haven't heard our take on it. And joining us, as always, in the studio this week is our very own anchor person, Brent Williams. Brent, what nerdy news have you got for us this week?
All right, well, I'm going to start off with some entertainment news. I believe it was yesterday, Guillermo del Toro.
It's a hard name to say.
It is.
Guillermo.
Guillermo del Toro blasted out to social media that filming had wrapped on his Frankenstein movie.
Oh, cool. I had
Did
heard
you
that
know
was
he's
in...
making a
I
Frankenstein? Yeah.
Yes.
did not know this.
Well, Oscar Isaacs stars as Dr. Frankenstein.
Oh my gosh, I'm so in.
It's pronounced Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. Other notable actors: Christoph Waltz,
Oh, wow.
Oh, yes.
Lars Mikkelsen.
Oh, come on.
He's got to be the monster.
Yeah. No.
No?
The monster is a kid named Jacob Elordi.
Huh.
And
My daughter would know who that is.
I looked him
have
up.
no
I didn't
idea.
really recognize anything. David Bradley is also in it. He's the guy who played Filch in Harry Potter.
Okay.
And also, what was the guy's name in the Red Wedding on Game of Thrones?
Oh, ask him.
Yeah.
Which guy? There was a bunch of them.
The old man at the Red Wedding.
Oh,
He's the head of the family.
yeah.
That guy.
Oh, God. The character actor. I can see his face so clearly. Not coming to me now. Carry on.
Anyway, slated for, I think it said 2025. So, yeah,
so this
so I'm
time
excited.
next year, we might be
Yeah.
seeing a Frankenstein
He said
movie.
he's always wanted to do a Frankenstein movie, so he just finally did one.
I
So-
heard about the possibility of this years ago. I'm so stoked to see this one come out.
Yeah.
All right. Marvel announced something pretty cool. They have a new show, Doctor Strange, Mystery of the Mystics,
Ugh.
coming out. And it features Scarlet Witch is going to be in it.
Okay.
The catch is It's a stage show that can only be seen in Disneyland Paris.
I am sorry for the preemptive Zerberts because I read that too.
You
I
clearly already knew that.
I did. I
was like ready to punch you in the throat for poo-pooing on Doctor Strange.
I know, and
until
I
he
normally
finished that article, and I'm like, no.
Because these darn, do you hear me? These darn news articles that are coming out, they reel you in, making you think you're going to get something good, and then
it's called clickbait, Mike. It's been around for years.
Yeah, but I just don't expect that.
And now you're old enough
Screen
that you fall
Rant.
for it.
Yeah. But you don't expect that from places like Screen Rant. You don't want to be clickbaited for a...
Honey, someone said they owes us and they're trapped in Jamaica and they need $1,500. Should we send it?
1,500, dang, that's cheap.
Prince Kumar, I wanted $3 million.
All right, so last story. A Radio Shack may be coming back.
Oh, yeah?
What?
So I didn't know this, but they had like 8,000 stores worldwide.
It was a lot of stores.
Yeah, and they closed them all down and they went solely online. So some of the stores, there's actually still Radio Shack stores still open. I didn't know this. They are independently owned stores. And one of the former franchisees has purchased kiosk space in a mall in Charlton, South Carolina. And he's got products out there and stuff, and he's working on opening up a full store again. So if that's successful, then apparently that could be a model for reopening Radio Shack.
Yeah, but it's 2024. How many RC cars do you need?
Yeah, right.
I wish I could get more excited, but I wasn't one of the kids who hung out at Radio Shack.
I bet Brent was.
I actually worked there.
Nice.
Oh, my God.
I worked there, and I actually got held up at gunpoint there.
Well,
that's not...
You never forget the first time you're held up at gunpoint.
That's right. That's a story for another time.
All right.
Quite interesting. It gets me out of jury duty.
Oh, my.
What, does it still get you out of jury duty? Hey, 30-something years ago, I was held up at gunpoint at a Radio Shack, so I'm a little triggered.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, my friend. That is all for this week's edition of Nerd News. You heard it here, 5th or 6th, but definitely not 1st. But thanks for playing along. Okay, boys, I think as we're getting the show kicked off that it was Micah's turn to bring cigars this week. Am I right, sir?
You are.
Hooray.
All right. I have a cigar from a place that I brought cigars from before that I really, really enjoyed called the Doble Corona. This is another cigar from Faustino Cigars.
Excellent.
All right. This one's called the 3 Wrapper. And this is the one that I was alluding to before when it came to Candela.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah?
Look at that.
Oh, man. Wow.
Okay. Let me give you a little bit of back.
That is... it looks like a Neapolitan ice cream,
It
but
sure does.
without the pink.
It looks like those candies my grandma used to keep in her purse.
All right, so get this.
with no wrappers, right? That's so gross.
All right, this is a 6x60. The wrapper is Connecticut, Candela, and San Andreas. Now, for our listeners who can't see what you're looking at, like they said, it looks almost like a Neapolitan. So it's not a mix of those three. You're actually going to smoke all 3 of those in succession.
Yeah, it's like a flag.
Starting from light to dark. The filler is Nicaraguan, Dominican, and Peruvian.
Oh, I love some Peruvian.
Okay, Faustino Cigars has been a family business since 1963, started by Jose Hernandez's grandfather. Jose is a 3rd-generation roller and aficionado who started learning to roll when he was 10 years old.
Well, you got to get them in the factory early.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, they discover girls and they're just gone.
And if you're in the Dallas area, you can find one of these shops in Casa Linda Plaza and the other in Royce City.
Yeah, so this is not one, correct me if I'm wrong, they don't, CI doesn't sell it because it's a family-owned company.
Correct.
So if you do want one of these lovely Faustino cigars, you are going to have to go.
You have to go to their shop
and
or
see
go
them.
online and find them.
All right, I'm going to do my cold draw here.
Yep. Oh, and for the record,
I'm surprised
for now at least, I have converted to V-cut from Punch, where I've normally been.
And what was the decision behind that, Michael? Just out of curiosity.
Better draw.
Okay.
I wasn't getting a lot of stuff in my mouth. I think that's one of the reasons why I really enjoyed Punches, because I wasn't getting,
Well, if you've ever watched me do a straight cut on a cigar, the very next thing I do is I tamp it down with my knuckle here.
Yeah.
Like that. And that way I don't get a lot of loose tobacco.
I'll have to remember that.
Yep, it's just a little tamp down. All right, I'm going to go ahead and fire mine up.
Yeah, that's got a very
'cause I
nice
can.
draw, actually.
Yeah, I'm getting the dark parts of the cigar.
Yeah.
But what was interesting is I sort of ran the cigar under my nose, and I can smell the Connecticut and the Candela and the Maduro. It's pretty awesome. Oh, I'm toasting my cigar. So this is interesting. I'm getting sort of a dichotomy going on in my olfactory and my palate right now, because I can clearly see that the Connecticut wrapper is burning, and I can smell it. But what I'm tasting is that Maduro, that San Andreas on the end, because that's where I'm drawing from.
Yeah.
Well, my draw is actually it's very light. I mean,
Light is in aromatically light, or it's just an easy draw?
Taste.
Okay.
It's a light taste. Yeah.
I think one of the things that I had when I was discussing this with the owner, he was telling me that that this gets stronger as it goes along. Obviously, you're going to get that with the different wrappers.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was the Candela one that I was alluding to before.
I got you. And what is this called again? The 3-wrap?
The 3-wrapper.
The 3-wrapper. Tres wrappers. Like they say in the old country.
His label literally says the number 3 and wrapper. So
Nice.
Wow.
not to be
Keep your
confused.
marketing simple, people. It's not complicated. It's okay. All right. Thank you, Micah, for this lovely cigar from our
You're
good
welcome.
friends at Faustino. Brent, I think it was your turn to bring the bottle, was it not?
It is. I have a great bottle.
Thanks. You want to tell us about it?
I do. So
Can you open your phone?
Yeah, my phone's open. All right. Well, this bottle is it comes from Austin. It is smash. It has a mash bill of 70% white corn.
Oh, I wish you'd gone with Smash Bill. I like that better.
Smash bill. 75% white corn, 25% rye, 5% malted barley. It is grain to glass. Everything is from Texas. Distilled in a one-of-a-kind Scottish design still called Nancy.
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 This is
Love it.
Nancy boy.
This is the Still Austin musician.
The Still Austin musician.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm excited and also intrigued.
Tadur. Put my cigar down here.
Oh, I like the artwork on the bottle. That's pretty cool. That looks very Austin.
Oh, he did not do the pop.
No, you did. We could hear it.
No, wait. I gotta read it.
Yeah, you got to redo
All
it.
right. And a 1. And a 2.
Wait.
Hang on.
Hard to get back in.
That's
Okay,
what she
you
said.
guys ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Oh, very
That was a little
melodramatic.
There we go.
Very melodramatic. I like how you jug that out.
It's so deep and amber color.
It is very darkly colored.
I feel like I'm looking at actual amber stone.
Look out for a mosquito inside. It could hold the DNA of a dinosaur.
Okay.
We are back in our positions now. Keep in mind, people, we are middle-aged men. We have to lean over something. There's going
Takes
to
a
be
while.
noises made, and thankfully, Brent is an excellent editor. So
That's not
hopefully,
the
most of that.
that's not the furniture creaking.
No, that is definitely not. That's not even our bones. Those are sounds that come out of our mouth holes. All right, nose. Whoa. Hello.
Pineapple.
Ooh,
Pineapple.
I'm getting all the apple.
I'm getting pineapple, coconut.
Oh. Now, I don't know if your words just predispose my brain to this, but suntan oil. The
Really?
coconut.
Yeah, coconut. Yeah, suntan lotion. Yeah.
And then there's,
I'm getting a Washington red apple.
I'm getting Granny Smith, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah.
that's
like
that's
a little bit more
very
little-
very specific.
Well, the Washington has a very distinct smell to it. Granny also.
Oh.
Granny's usually a little bit more
Oh,
tart.
my, that tastes good. So there's caramel on there. A little bit of
Whoa.
burnt sugar, some vanilla,
Yeah.
stuff that pairs well with the apple in my nose.
So this is a high rye straight bourbon, and it's definitely peppery.
Yeah?
No, it's on the back end.
Yeah.
Feels good. Feels warm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feels
It's
nice and
warm,
warm.
but it's not like Rocktown.
No, it's not like that
invasive.
Rocktown.
Oh my
It's not
goodness.
Rocktown invasive.
Oh,
sorry, we all
my
just got
goodness.
triggered.
I just had some PTSD flashbacks.
Yeah, it was bound to happen. But this is not
I will
bad.
say, the star of the episode that dropped today, The topic was Star Wars, but the star of the show was Rocktown.
It totally was. It totally was.
You know what?
We literally couldn't say enough about it.
And you were defending it pretty heavy. I mean, we were really trying to give it a chance.
I got to go back and listen to the episode.
Yeah.
Were you
And-
being an apologist?
Well, I was saying if you get past all the ethanol burn and stuff, that the flavor was still pretty decent. It was sweet.
Once
Sweeter
you clear
than I
the
liked, but it
gasoline
was
out of
still-
your mouth, you can actually taste a little bit of
anyway.
the. I love how dismissive you are when you say "anyway" on me.
Yeah. But anyway,
But anyway. All right.
that's a
so
Gen
we
X
are-
thing. Whatever.
Whatever, dude. We are off and running with the Faustino 3 Wrapper cigar and the Still Austin
Musician.
which is so far so good. Very tasty.
Yeah.
All right. It only remains for me to talk about what we're going to talk about tonight, boys. Now, when Brent and I were kids, and Micah was an infant, there was a show on
week.
television.
I just
Called-
would like to ask the audience: did you hear my eye roll?
Yeah. Sounded like a Nora Jones song. Anyway, there was a show on, I believe it started, was it 77, Brent? Can you help me out with that? It started in 77.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I wasn't.
1977 was such a big year.
Was.
I mean, and we'll get to that in a minute, but obviously Star Wars, but also there was a show on called In Search Of.
Yeah.
And it was basically this sort of documentary type news / entertainment program hosted by none other than Leonard Nimoy.
God rest him.
And it basically counted, all the unsolved or unknown or kind of known but not really mysteries of the world. And when I would have been, 9 years old? I was fascinated by the unknown.
Yep.
Obviously, aliens were a big thing.
Yep.
But then, Leonard Nimoy, and by the way, I think it was because it was Leonard Nimoy. I know this is why they got him to host it, because everyone knew him as the
Well,
science officer Spock, right?
Actually,
are you getting ready to nerd facts?
I am.
Okay.
The original host was supposed to be Rod Serling, but he died in 1975.
Oh, wow.
While they were prepping the show.
Okay.
So he got delayed a little bit, then they got Leonard Nimoy. But yeah, I think he was very famous and also it was right up his alley. He was like the perfect narrator for
Absolutely.
the show. I mean,
and people who were Star Trek fans, instantly he had accreditation
Right.
because he was the science officer.
right.
And it did lend, for me as a 9-year-old kid, it lent some credence to these what turned out to be wild, crazy ass theories.
Yeah, and if
about
anybody's
things.
interested, the full series is on YouTube. You can go to YouTube and find the entire series. It was one of the it's like one of the grandfather shows to the modern day paranormal shows, like
Right.
Ghost Hunters and stuff, right?
Yeah.
There was actually a show before it called One Step Beyond that came out, I believe it was late 50s or early 60s.
And it was not the song by Madness, it was
No, it
this
was not.
actual show.
It was
I
the
was
actual show called
just
One Step
thinking
Beyond,
that.
Yeah, we were all thinking it. One step beyond. Anyway, you guys, did you guys ever watch a show?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
Religiously.
as you so astutely pointed
You
out,
were an infant,
I was
yeah.
actually an infant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I see. I wasn't exaggerating. I knew what I was talking about.
I'm so used to just getting the poke.
I believe it. I believe it originally aired. I think it was Wednesday nights on NBC. I want to say.
I don't remember. I just remember that, like you, I watched it
Well,
all the time.
but then in separate markets, it started getting aired at different times in separate markets.
Mm-hmm.
And in Dallas, I want to say it was one of our Sunday afternoon shows.
Okay.
Yeah, like Mutual of Omaha,
Wild Kingdom.
Wild Kingdom. It was one of those. Yeah.
I just
in the afternoon.
remembered that I would watch any episode of In Search Of, and then going to school the next day or the next week or whatever, I considered myself the resident expert on whatever that
Right.
topic was.
Eh.
So, like, here's what I want to do to throw out the question for the first discussion. Since Micah didn't watch the show, but Micah, like us, has an active imagination, even as a kid. And I want to know from each of you, what was like the big mystery that you heard about as a kid that you really wanted to, like, first of all, you were fascinated by it, whether that fascination was excitement or horror or fright or whatever. And then second of all, did you really want to believe it? Right? So let's start with Brent, since you actually watched the show.
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot, yes.
Well, it's a good time you spent around Hochatown there.
Yeah, that's right. That's why I go. I'm searching.
You're gonna
stuff.
find
We're
him
gonna
one day.
find that dude.
Brent is
someday.
in search of Bigfoot in Hochatown.
Not Rocktown. Well, talk a little bit about Bigfoot. Like, what was the fascination for you?
come on, you're a kid. There's this supposed monster that lives in the woods. I mean, who wouldn't be fascinated with that? You know, I don't care if you're into sci-fi or fantasy or anything. That would still be a really cool subject. And you know, and I'm 7 when this aired. I believe it was late in the year, 77. So I think I turned 7 by that time. And we had woods at the end of our street, and that's where we played. That was, I mean, everything happened in the woods, right? And so when Bigfoot started becoming a big deal, that was like when we were in the woods, we were looking for Bigfoot.
And was that because you had also seen the Patterson-Gimlin film? That famous
The Legend
footage
of Boggy Creek?
No.
Oh, no, the one with the morning
the guys who claimed that they saw that they got on film a female Bigfoot walking through the woods somewhere up in the Pacific Northwest, I think.
Yeah. I had seen that actually.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, as a kid, that was more popular to me than the Zapruder film of the Kennedy assassination.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like she's right there. She's right there, you guys.
Yeah.
It's Bigfoot.
Oh yeah, you saw it, you believed it. It was amazing. And I think it's important that we kind of talk about the format of the In Search of show, because they even make a disclaimer at the beginning that, you know, they're not saying this is actually what happened,
Right.
but this is one of the many possible things that could have happened in this, in whatever the story is.
Which, if you think about it, was a very Rod Serling thing to say.
Yeah, and just some of the more notable subjects they talked about. I made a list of those. The first episode is called "The End of the World," In Search of the End of the World, right? And then they get into the Bermuda Triangle.
That was another big one for me.
The Man Who Would Not Die, Ancient Aviators, Killer Bees, Life After Death, The Mummy's Curse, Martians, Atlantis,
Yeah.
Pyramids, Bigfoot, Amelia Earhart.
Yep.
The Loch Ness Monster.
Of course.
My number 2 right behind Bigfoot.
Yep.
UFOs, Inca Treasure, Shark Worshippers.
Shark worshippers.
Right. And the Swamp Monster.
Nice.
Yeah.
Michael, what was when you were a kid and you discovered, you know, the possibility of a mystery? What was it? What was the mystery that you locked onto? You wanted to know about and get into?
It was definitely the Bermuda Triangle for me.
Was it?
I started to listen to and read as much as I could about something strange about the radio frequencies and things that were making compasses go nuts, and inabilities to navigate through it, ships being lost. I mean, my imagination just exploded in a whole bunch of delight. Like, it was, I was wondering, I was like, there's got to be a portal. They're going somewhere.
That's right.
Whether they're going to come back or not is completely a mystery, and who knows? Or maybe it's just this one area where so much was lost, and one day they're able to check it out. And I actually haven't done any research on this to know for sure.
Well, I have, but
I'm interested to hear
that
it.
isn't the part that we're talking. We're talking about the mystery that you fell in love with.
Yeah, so
right?
that was definitely it. I was fascinated with this area of the world where things were lost.
And it sounds sexy and spooky, right? The Bermuda Triangle.
Right.
Like, if it had been a quadrangle, would we have been that intrigued?
Well, they would have called it the Bermuda Quad, and then that would have been cool too.
But it would have sounded like a college campus.
Yeah, right.
I wouldn't have been impressed if it had been a quad.
I know, I got
things-
lost in a couple of campuses.
I was going to say, there's been lots of things that disappeared in the quads on college campuses.
So for me, I came to the Bermuda Triangle by way of Aliens.
Oh,
Aliens were the big one for me. And the reason, we talk about 1977 being a very informative year, because in May of 1977, we got Star Wars. But in December of that same year, we got Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Right. Yeah.
Different kind of space film entirely. And I remember watching that movie, and one of the first scenes is, I think that the researchers are in the Sonoran Desert, and they find that fighter bomber squadron that
was
disappeared
amazing. Yep.
over the Bermuda Triangle, and the planes are intact and there's nobody in them. And and then they start talking about the Bermuda Triangle. I was like, oh my God, were they just hanging out there? What I loved about Star Wars, obviously we just talked about it in the last episode, was, you know, it was a space opera. It was cowboys and Indians in space, basically. And for a kid, that's just candy. Close Encounters actually terrified me.
really?
Oh yeah, because I had seen Richard Dreyfuss in movies before, and he always played a very sensible human being. And now he's suddenly obsessed, and he's making mountains out of mashed potatoes,
Yes.
and his wife and kids leave him because of this obsession. And
That's
this-
like Brad Pitt in 12 Monkeys, where you see him crazy for the first time.
And you know, government conspiracy, and they're trying to fake everybody out, and these aliens come down. Turns out they're real. Nothing like Star Wars. But I had already discovered In Search Of by that time, because 1977, again, that was when In Search Of came out. And I just was fascinated by the idea of the mysterious unknown, right?
Yeah.
What was another one that maybe grabbed you, Brent, when you were a kid?
Well, Loch Ness Monster.
So you're big into monsters.
Oh my gosh, heck yeah.
So you had to cover all your bases. You've got the landlocked monster, and now you've got the sea monster.
That's right.
Or technically, he's a lake monster.
Yeah.
He's not a sea
It's a
monster.
loch.
Yeah, it's a loch.
I thought the Loch was the actual lake.
Loch means lake. That's why I said lake monster, not sea monster.
How about that?
Yeah, exactly.
Micah Knows Things, Part 1.
It's a very short episode.
I have my moments.
Well, no, I agree. Like the Loch Ness Monster, again, fascinated. So everybody remembers that famous grainy picture, which, as adults we found out was total bullshit. But that's not the point. The point is when you're a kid and your imagination is working all the time, these seem like things that we should seriously consider. I will tell you this. The show In Search Of, I think ultimately, as an adult, is what turned me into a skeptic. Because when I was a kid, I wanted to believe in all of these things. I wanted to believe that there were monsters, and there were aliens, and there were mysterious, unexplainable disappearances. And by the way, let's talk about Amelia Earhart.
Yeah.
I mean, the first woman who was going to fly around the world. I actually found out that on the trip where she vanished without a trace, that was actually her second attempt to make it around the world. The first time, she basically crashed on takeoff. And then the second time, they surmised she ran out of fuel. But they were close enough to... I mean, this is what, 1939, I think it was? So they were using radio frequencies and stuff to try to figure out her position, which they should have been able to do, but they never found anything.
I thought that some pictures surfaced of her like somewhere in some remote Pacific island or something, sitting on a dock. Were there some pictures of that?
I have not heard of that.
Those could have been fake too. Who knows?
I don't know. I think probably if those pictures are on the interwebs, they're fake.
Well, if they found Amelia Earhart, I think the first thing she'd want to know is, what do we think of the first third of this cigar?
Well, it definitely tastes like a Connecticut wrap cigar to me. Mm-hmm. Once I started getting into the cigar itself, the San Andreas that I'm pulling from the back end here kind of gave way, which is unusual. But I'm definitely tasting that Connecticut wrapper. It's very creamy. I always describe good Connecticut wrappers. I describe as coffee and cream.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
that's what I'm getting right now.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Mine is again kind of earthy, creamy. The hay that you were talking about, a little bit of leather for me, but not too much. I'm not getting as much influence off of the other wrappers just yet. So I do taste what you're talking about, but it's so far on the back end.
It'll be more pronounced when they start to burn.
I would imagine.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, I'm leather, creamy mouthfeel, leather, a little bit of hay.
No lace, no leather
lace.
and lace.
Nope.
And that was
Henley,
another thing.
That comes in the candela part.
I think that once my coal was established is when it started to really kind of really dictate that first part of the cigar there, where we're talking about the Connecticut wrap.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So, Mike, I have to ask you the same question I asked Brent. What was another mystery that you glommed onto as a kid you thought was fascinating?
Atlantis.
Ooh, do tell.
All right. So, one of the things, much like I have a fascination with lost cultures, and things like Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster are not too far-fetched for me to assume that there are some sort of a prehistoric animal there that could have been. All right, whether it was all fake is fine, but that was the thing with Atlantis, is that there have been numerous studies on where it could have been, on the technology they had. Now, is it Disney Atlantis? Probably not, with some sort of magic stone that powers the entire city. But the idea of
are you saying
technology
Aquaman isn't real?
Do I need to break your heart?
Son of a
Yeah, sorry, bro. Anyway, but it was very plausible to me that there was a society out there that figured out ways to incorporate a society and create aqueducts and create agriculture in ways that function for their city at the time, and that it was lost because tsunamis are very real. The height and the height of the ocean fluctuates.
Well, isn't there like some old ancient manuscripts like by Plato or somebody describing Atlantis, right?
Yes, but
Absolutely.
the argument has always been heavily that there was a fictional city that he created.
Oh, gotcha.
Much like Middle Earth, but not nearly as complex.
Yeah,
But everybody was a philosopher.
it was not.
Oh, but you can't see it because it's underwater. Sorry.
It was not.
It's up in the sky.
It was not too unplausible, displausible,
Implausible.
Thank you.
Unplausible.
We knew he'd get there with the prefix eventually.
Applausible.
A plausible. Yay!
It was not too foreign of an idea for me to accept that this place existed at one time or another.
Yeah. I also love that he would rather search for another word than admit you were right. That's just...
I was actually wrong
that's-
because I said implausible, but I think it's implausible.
implausible. I thought that's what you said.
Yeah. Shoot, I shouldn't have said anything.
Yeah, and I'm the dumb one. Okay.
We never said you were dumb, Micah.
Nobody said that as far as you know.
To your face.
I would never call you stupid to your face.
Oh, man. Okay, here was another one for me that I really wanted to believe in ghosts.
Oh. So, what's funny to me, so as I said before, this show is kind of the precursor to other paranormal TV shows. Even Unsolved Mysteries, remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
They actually even did a few paranormal episodes. But
Robert Stack.
Robert Stack, yeah. I could never get into shows like Ghost Hunters and stuff.
No.
I mean, it was
No.
like, because every episode it was like they were walking through a building and it's dark and they have flashlights and somebody goes, "Did you feel that?" Mm-hmm. And everybody's like, "What? And he goes, "Somebody just touched me on the shoulder." I'm like,
So, Larry,
Really?
can you elaborate on
bro.
Can you elaborate on the ghost stuff?
Yeah. When I was probably too young to have watched it, I watched a movie called The Amityville Horror. And that, I saw that movie, and then I thought, we have to move. Because there's, and it's it's confirmation bias. You watch a scary movie, and then suddenly everything you hear is a killer around the corner.
Oh,
or a
absolutely.
poltergeist.
Final Destination with that log truck?
Right? It's exactly how I'm going to go. But then I also saw a film by Spielberg called Poltergeist. And, the scariest part of that movie was these bastards kidnapped a little girl into the TV set. I mean, that's just low, man.
My wife cannot watch that. She
No,
hates it.
seriously?
I will walk around corners during Halloween going, Caroline, Caroline, just to freak her right out.
I mean,
You're
I was
so
going to say,
mean.
how long did you stay away from the TV after you saw that?
Oh, a good while. And I loved TV. TV was my babysitter growing up.
I turned
And
that
after
bad
that
boy
movie,
on.
I was like, you know what? We need to take a break. It's not you, it's me. We just need to take a break.
I just went and said, suck me in, suck me in.
Oh, no,
my
I did
gosh.
not want to be where the ghosts were.
Yeah, no, me neither.
Never, ever, ever. And the genre has been done so many different ways. Some of them ridiculous and some of them genuinely spooky and weird. My daughter is a huge fan of horror movies. And now she's looking at it from the point of view of a wannabe filmmaker, right? Because she wants to write movies and direct movies, and that's what she's going to school for. And when I asked her about the time that she decided she wanted to pursue this as a career path, I'm like, what is the draw of a horror movie? And she goes, first of all, they're super popular. Second of all, they're super cheap to make. So I was like, oh, from a practical standpoint, then that makes sense. And apparently, my daughter's generation loves a good jump scare.
Yeah.
I do not love a good jump scare, but I was fascinated by the possibility of ghosts when I was a kid.
Oh, sure.
When
Yeah.
you're a kid, that's and I'm sure both you guys are like this as well. I had what would only be described as an overactive imagination when I was a kid. So every day I was supposed to be doing school or whatever, and I did it for the most part. but I was always like, filling out a questionnaire because I was being interrogated by Nazis. And they were answering. I was giving them all the wrong answers.
On
I wasn't
Scantron.
gonna give them on Scantron. Or a mimeograph paper. Oh, it smells so good. I've said this for years. If the Germans really wanted POWs to talk in World War II, just give them mimeograph paper. Let them sniff that stuff for a few minutes. They're like, we want to know, man. Yeah, I know. We're totally coming on June 6th. We're totally coming. No, we all of us, not a few, all of us. All of us are coming on June 6th. Could I have a little more of that mimeograph paper? No, oh, man.
Hey, Tommy, when are those sausages going to be ready?
So, Brent, you mentioned some ones that I don't remember those shows on In Search of. Like, the first one you said, was it End of the World?
First one was End of the World.
Has that, like, have you guys ever seriously contemplated that? Because every culture talks about it. Every religion has their version of the end of the world. Like, what do you... Did that ever hold any fascination for either of you?
I took the Newt Scamander approach. Worrying means you suffer twice.
As I got older, End of the World just meant one thing to me: sweet release.
Life wasn't that bad. I mean, you had Star Wars. Come on.
Sweet release.
I'm like, why worry about it?
But I mean, have you ever? I mean, we've all watched movies and TV shows about the end of the world, whether they're religious or secular or whatever. Okay, so here's a thought exercise. Did you guys ever see a movie called The End of the World? I think that's what it was called.
You talking about the Simon Pegg one?
No.
That's World's End.
That's World's End.
Sorry.
I'm talking about the one with all of the comedians like Seth Rogen and James Franco. Like, they play themselves in this movie, and they're in Hollywood, and the apocalypse happens.
Oh, wow.
You guys have never seen this movie?
I don't think I've seen it.
I think it's called The End of the World, or The End of the World as We Know It. Something like that. And so all of the movie stars and comedy stars in that movie play themselves.
Please say they used the song from REM.
I don't remember if they did. It's been a while since I saw the movie. But it's like, they used to make movies and TV shows and joke about the end of the world, but now it's actually happening, and they are basically all just turning on each other. Like, they realize they're all horrible people because they're just looking out for themselves. And there's this one great scene where they see someone on the front lawn. I think they're all lodged up at James Franco's house. And they see someone fighting for their lives out on the lawn, and she comes busting in. It's Emma Watson.
Oh, my gosh.
And she's swinging an axe, right? And they're like, "Oh my God, are you okay?"
I'm
And
getting
she's
a
like,
flashback.
She's like, "Yeah, I'm okay, but it's chaos out there. It's horrible. I had to hide a drain pipe for 3 days." Da 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 da. And they're like, "Well, you're safe now. You're safe." And so they find her a room upstairs in James Franco's big house, and they give her some water and whatever. Now they're outside the room because they think she's asleep. And somehow the conversation devolves into, "Well, no, we're not going to hurt her. We're not going to... I mean, what if she is the last woman on Earth? We would never do anything like that." It becomes this whole thing of, hey, we're not going to do that. She's listening to the whole thing. She comes busting out with her axe like, "Get the hell away from me, you perverts."
Yeah, I was going to say,
she
James
steals
Franco
all
was
their
gonna
water.
hit on her.
She steals all their water and food and runs for the hills. But
Oh my gosh,
I thought that was an original take on
Well, I'll have to watch
the
that
end of the
now.
world.
Yeah.
It's a really funny movie.
I'm getting a flashback. I swear I've seen this before. End of the world topics, it really depends on the speed, right? I mean, I figure, if you're talking about, like, I don't know, we don't talk religion, but if we're talking about, like, rapture or something where we're all left behind or some shit, then...
I'm totally getting left behind.
It's like, then you're like, well, that says that's the end of the world, but, is it? Is free play still open so I can go to the arcade? Do we still have electricity so I can, plug in? Do we have internet still? Because I still need to stream my flicks, man.
Oh, my gosh.
But no, is it a blink? Like, for instance, is it going to be an asteroid or something like that? Well, then it really won't matter.
Right.
If an asteroid hits...
If the end of the world happens, I hope it's something sudden like an asteroid.
Yeah. Because we could be sitting here doing this podcast and then all of a sudden...
Just blipped.
Yeah.
I don't know. If an asteroid hits, though, unless it's right on top of us, it's not instantaneous. It's
Didn't
like,
they deflect
what's
one
that-
recently?
What's that rumble?
Actually, I believe it is right now. We have an asteroid that's kind of in a weird orbit around the Earth. They're calling it our second moon. Supposed to have it for a few days this week.
And then did they do something to deflect it, and that's the reason why it's...
I
It
don't
has-
think
it
we've
didn't make
done like
impact?
an Armageddon type thing or anything like that.
I thought I read that they did. I could be making
well,
that stuff
Bruce
up.
Willis is in no shape to take care of it, you guys.
Yeah.
We got to figure something else out.
Well, that's okay because the cast of Deep Impact is still alive, so we can use them.
Oh my gosh.
If we can't get Bruce Willis, let's get Taya Leone. Damn it, she can be the new Bruce Willis.
She will. Even when she rasps and she's like, "Are we gonna die?" That's what made the asteroid go away. It was Tia Leone's exhale.
That harsh exhale.
Oh, I'm starting on the Candela.
Yeah, I'm
Are
in
you
there now.
really?
I'm in the Candela now.
Man, you guys are way ahead of me. Okay. In the late 1970s, ABC did a made-for-TV movie, and I think it was just called Killer Bees.
Oh,
It was.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I'm gonna have to look this up because I don't
That
want to.
that was a scare in the 70s. Was
Yes.
killer bees? I believe they were African.
Africanized killer bees.
Yeah, Africanized killer bees.
we had something like that in the early 2000s as well, when people were mistaking the cicada killers for those.
Oh,
those
yeah.
massive.
Yeah.
African bees that were apparently. I remember I saw one of those in my garage, and I mean, I took the biggest can of Raid Wasp shooter, and I just
emptied it.
hosed that son of a bitch down.
Just emptied it.
My mom was seriously the kind of person that if she saw a bug in the house, she would spray it with half a can of Raid,
Yeah.
and then she would step on it. Basically, the Raid was just to slow him down.
Zombieland would call that the double tap.
Yeah. So Killer Bees. It was 1974. So even before Close Encounters, we were having Killer Bees,
Yeah.
and Gloria Swanson was in the movie, and so was the late great Edward Albert was in this movie.
Yeah.
And I remember, if I'm not mistaken, the way that they had to get rid of the bees is they had to lure them to the Superdome in New Orleans and turn on all the air conditioners to
Snorted.
feed
That was snort-worthy.
At first, he thought I was going to say lured to the Superdome to watch the City New Orleans Saints play a game, but no. And then they had to turn on the refrigeration units and make it very cold so the bees would go inactive. If you guys want to talk about the second third of the cigar,
Oh no,
be my
I'm
guest.
still at the beginning of it. I'm just looking at you. You're not there yet.
I'm not.
We're way ahead of you.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
wait. We can wait.
We can wait.
That's okay.
The one thing I remember about that movie wasn't it like whenever they stung you, their venom like hardened or something,
Oh wow.
and that's what was causing people to die. Like, venom
I
would
thought it
cause
was
your
because they swarmed you, and it was just too many bee
Oh,
stings, and
yeah.
you just died.
Wow.
Maybe I'm thinking about something else.
This
but-
conversation's turning real dark.
yeah.
Well, again, this is in the 70s, there were a lot of things that could kill you in the 70s.
Yeah.
I mean, we were still in the grip of the Cold War. We had gas shortages.
I don't think we even had seatbelts then, did we?
Oh, probably not. I
they
know I
just-
stood up in the back of the station wagon.
Oh, me too.
They just went across the lap. We just didn't have the shoulder ones.
We
yet.
would sleep in the back of the station wagon on long road trips, or
You would make sure that
Yeah.
your forehead hit the dashboard, but gosh,
Yeah.
your butt was safe.
My
Sorry.
dad had an Impala with one of those back seats that had the window ledge in the back.
Yes.
I could fit up there.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the place where
I would,
they used
I
to
would
keep,
be like a cat, just like crunched up in there.
They would keep boxes of Kleenex up there. And then I remember when I was in defensive driving, in high school, they had this big thing. They were like, "Do not put a box of Kleenex in that back area right there. If you slam on the on the brakes and you hit something going 60 miles an hour, that box is going through your head at 60 miles an hour."
wow. That's why I always kept like knives and throwing stars up there.
That's the best. I mean, if you really just want to end it,
Just laid them all out.
yeah.
Well, I was actually.
How do you want to
watching
go, Brent? How do you want to go?
Asteroid. I told you. Asteroid.
Asteroid, followed by Ninja Stars.
Yeah, that's right. I actually was watching some of the In Search of. I mean, they're 22 minutes without the commercials, right? So you can get through a bunch of them real fast.
I watched that first one that you sent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was watching one today called "The Man Who Would Not Die,"
Okay.
And it was a story, all anecdotal stories about this guy named Saint Germain. And basically what they found out, years later, one thing about In Search Of is it doesn't age well, because half the stuff that they are talking about, we've already figured out. We realize what it is now, right? But anyway, so they're talking about this guy. And so there were all these anecdotal stories, kings and queens that would talk about him and stuff. And apparently he ended up being like the third son of some royal person that got overthrown or whatever. So he had to kind of live in anonymity. But anyway, he was very smart. And whenever we would tell stories about history, it was like he had been there. Everyone thought, well, he would live there, He seemed to not age. And people were saying things like, we've never seen him eat food or anything like that. And he was at a court, one of the royal courts, and they were like, oh, my mother knew him 50 years ago, and he looks the exact same. All this kind of crap.
Ooh, Dorian Gray.
But anyway, what they found out was, back during his time, the average age of a person was 35. Like, you died at 35. If you were 50, that was considered really old, and 90 was considered ancient. Right. And he actually died at 90 years old.
Oh, wow.
Were there any other monsters that, like, you seriously considered as a kid?
Dragons.
Oh,
dragons.
Okay.
I mean, because and that was completely plausible for me, because there are recorded writings, artwork through various cultures all over the planet for various types of dragons. And how is a dormant dinosaur not a plausible idea?
A dormant dinosaur?
Yeah, I mean.
You mean like?
So the dinosaurs will get all extinct, and then all of a sudden.
Because isn't they what they thought Nessie was
exactly
some sort of a dino that somehow,
which alludes back to the prehistoric thing that I was talking about. But I mean, it wasn't too foreign for me to think that when dinosaurs were being wiped off the planet, that a la Reign of Fire with Matthew McConaughey, that they're all buried in the ground somewhere, and then they're awakened. I don't know.
It would have been cool if the dinos had knew that it was coming, so that they could take steps.
Yeah,
it's just too bad.
But definitely dragons. Definitely dragons.
Dragons.
There be dragons.
There be dragons. Well, of course, as a kid, I was fascinated by Bigfoot. So when the idea of Yeti came along, I was already in.
Yeah.
I was like, well, of course, they live in places not populated by man, right? We all know this.
Yeah.
That's why he's out in the Pacific Northwest before Pearl Jam ruined that for everybody. And then, Yeti's up in the Himalayas just minding his own business. And every few years or so, some stupid-ass hikers have to come along because they just got to get to the top of Krakatoa
get a
or
selfie.
Everest or whatever.
Krakatoa? Isn't that somewhere in the Pacific?
Probably.
No, that's when I stubbed my foot into the table. Bam! Krakatoa.
Oh.
Get it?
Yeah.
Get it?
Where's the button?
Actually, you need a dad joke button
That's right,
on there.
I do.
So just make it a fart noise.
I need an eye roll button. Is what I need.
Well, I'd be pressing that thing all day for you.
Wow.
That's why you're not in charge of the machines.
Well, another one that I loved, there's an episode on Martians.
Ooh.
They did a lot of Martians and UFOs.
Yeah, they were big on aliens.
Yeah.
On that show.
Yeah.
Well, I can't
and
remember.
when I was a kid, I just knew aliens were a thing. Especially after you see Star Wars, and you see all the different kinds of aliens there could be. Come on.
Yeah, it's not implausible to
Well,
think that there
okay,
was
so
somebody
this
out
is
there.
why-
Implausible. We're gonna have a
Damn it.
Implausible.
The prefix IM.
And then the word plausible.
It's not unbelievable.
It's not foreign.
It's not unbelievable to me that there are other species out there on other
Well,
planets.
this
It's
is
so
why-
arrogant for us to
This
assume
is why
that
I want you to
we're
read
the
some
only
Richard
ones.
Dawkins. This is why I want you to read some Dawkins, because Dawkins is an evolutionary biologist who also is friends with some of the smartest people on the planet. And here's the thing. The human brain cannot actually comprehend how vast the universe is.
Nope.
Dawkins does some interesting math in one of his books that sort of helps you sort of theoretically understand what we're talking about in terms of the fact that our universe is still expanding.
Wait, hold on 1 second. Random nerdy facts.
Thank you. Random nerdy facts. Anyway, Dawkins did some really good math to sort of demonstrate how difficult it is for us to wrap our brains around the fact that the universe is so much bigger. And he does this by basically just saying, let's start with our solar system, and we have a star, and if you look up in the sky at night, those are all stars, those are all suns, most of them have solar systems, go on, go on, go on. Basically, the conclusion he draws is, it would be foolish for you to believe that there's not other intelligent life out there.
Oh, agreed.
Because the probability is such that there almost has to be. Now, they're very, 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 very far away. Or they've been looking in on us and they're like, no.
Would you
No,
say
you're
maybe
not ready.
even 8 billion light years away?
Thank you, Carl Sagan.
No, actually, I'm alluding back to
Yeah.
Brent's previous...
The fast burst radio waves from
Yeah.
a billion years
I
ago.
forgot
Yeah.
about that. Yeah. So, but again, we know what they're saying.
Yeah.
Quit it. Stop it.
Stop it.
Just stop
Just
it.
stop.
But
Or their target lady. Stab it.
stop it. Wouldn't that be weird if there was an entire race out there and they're just Karens?
Huh?
That would be awful.
Oh my gosh.
My daughter had a friend when she was very young, who anytime he got very angry, he would always go, "Stop!" over and over and over again. Maybe that's the intonation that we're missing there.
Possibly. Although I have to tell you, on a completely unrelated subject, I just hit the Candela.
Yeah,
Oh, I
that's
did
what I
too.
wanted to talk about. I know that we don't usually we're not doing like a first, third, second, third, but I wanted to talk about hitting the Candela.
Oh yeah, I literally
Well, I mean,
in that
it
one
is second,
draw
third.
I hit it, and it is the second third.
Yeah,
Yes.
second, third. We can talk about second, third now.
Let's talk about it.
Is anybody getting like fresh cut green grass?
Mhm. I always get that with a Candela.
Ah, I mean, it is green after all. So
Well, not to be Captain
Yeah, I know.
Obvious, but that is just it. It has to do with the way a Candela is constructed.
there's a fell voice on the air.
A fell voice?
Yeah, from Lord of the Rings.
No, I got it.
Oh,
Yeah, definitely grassy.
very grassy. Meadow. I feel like I'm
You're in a meadow.
smoking a meadow.
Hang on, he's about to get poetic on us.
I walked out into a beautiful meadow. I took a lighter, threw it right out into the middle, and just huffed it.
I was getting another flavor. Let me see if I can figure out what
No
it
more
is.
chocolate for me. Very creamy, creamy, fresh cut lawn.
Pepper's gone away for me too.
And you guys, did your draw improve?
It did.
No, mine hasn't.
Mine's
My-
gotten better.
My draw is like perfect now.
I find that if my draw is a little bit tight, if I just slow down, if I just draw slowly and shallowly, then I'm good to go. And I'm good to go.
All right. I'm going to stick with grass. I can't figure out what that other flavor is.
Yeah, it's just meadow.
Yeah, it's just meadow.
Maybe even some like light floral, but not.
Meadow.
It's just mellow.
It's mellow.
It's just chill.
Mellow meadow.
Maybe like I don't know, dried sunflower.
I've never smoked a dried sunflower, so I have no...
Then you're not living, brother.
Have you never tasted a sunflower seed?
I have.
Okay, here's another one. And I really, really wanted, and in some ways still want this to be true. ESP.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Extrasensory perception. And I will... this is a true story. When I was a kid, fascinated with ESP. Fascinated with it. And then I grew up and I'm like, all right, blah, 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 blah. I'm still into my superheroes and, telepathy, telekinesis, Micah's favorite superpower of all
Yep.
time. But it wasn't until a few years ago, Netflix did a series called Stranger Things.
Oh yeah.
And it brought it, and it was period correct.
Oh yeah.
And it brought it all screaming back to me, man. I was like, 11, you get it. She's got ESP, you guys.
Well, I can appreciate that. I remember when I was growing up, I experienced a ton of deja vu. Feelings like I had been in certain places before or experienced certain things or having a dream the night before and then having it come true the next day.
Are you certain that you weren't experiencing a glitch in the Matrix?
That's very possible. But we'll talk about that later.
Okay. No, I have this very, very clear memory And I realize now that it was based on patterns. It wasn't based on anything else. I pick up patterns, and I typically pick up patterns in the audio world. And so I was sitting with my Uncle Terry in my bedroom of our house. I was probably, let's call it 14, 15 years old at the time. And we're listening to the rock station in Houston, 101 KLOL. And a song had just ended. And we're just sitting there shooting the shit, talking, whatever. And I said out loud, they're about to play Coming Up by Paul McCartney, which is a song that he did in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
And damn if that song didn't come on. And my Uncle Terry freaked right the hell out because he was there and he was a witness. And I said it before the first note of the song. I said it well in advance of the first note of the song. I was like, they're going to play Coming Up by Paul McCartney. And about 5 seconds later, they played it. And he just lost his mind. He's like, oh my God, dude, you've got ESP. I realized years later, I don't have ESP. I just knew my DJs.
Yeah.
And I knew what songs tended to follow other songs.
Yeah, and they did, and you're right, they did have patterns back then too. I mean, that's one of the ways that we knew when to record stuff.
Exactly.
Was because we knew after they played this song, they're going to play this next song, and yeah.
Yep.
Or they're going to play a genre. They're going to play like what at the time would have been considered a classic
That's
song.
how I know know how to unpause my jukebox at the exact...
Right?
Not jukebox, boombox, sorry.
Well, I mean, you can call it a jukebox. You
Well,
juke to it.
If you had one of those recording jukeboxes, that's pretty cool.
I don't know.
A Wurlitzer?
Did Wurlitzer really put out one of
Hit a
those?
record button.
Hey, I like the song. I'm going to record it.
You know, I remember hearing back in the 80s that we have only unlocked 10% of the human brain. Does anybody know if that statistic has changed now that we're like 40 years later?
I think it's probably like 3% now. I mean, just
We're understanding that
look at pretty much any post on social media or any news story.
the one thing that we know is that we know nothing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Bill and Ted.
I'm fairly certain that our brain capacity has not increased overall in the populace. But crazy. So that's another one, right? Like that would be cool.
That was a thing that didn't feel foreign to me either.
That would be cool if science could step up to the plate and we could somehow unlock the actual potential of our brains.
Yeah. Does our brain...
Well, isn't Elon Musk working on that?
Yes.
No, he's
and
actually
failing.
trying to
Yeah.
he's actually trying to get robots to kill us.
No, he got that chip planted in that guy's brain, and then it like tanked on him or something.
What were the consequences of a brain chip tanking?
Do you know anything about this?
Did
I
he
remember
die?
reading
I
about
haven't
it.
keeping up with that.
There was this one guy that
I know it was a special circumstance. It wasn't
Yeah.
just like some random dude. It's like
No,
the guy had
he had a
seizures or
disability.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
some kind of disability, and it was supposed to help with that. Yeah,
Yeah, but I
I'm
like
guessing
the
it didn't
idea of
work.
that.
yeah. That's all I can tell you. I don't really know more anymore.
I like the idea of the fact that maybe 90% of our brain that we're not using, if that's still a valid statistic, that we would have the ability to unlock other potentials. But the trick is that is it like that, or are we just talking about I don't know, an extended hard drive?
Well, wait a minute. We've had this discussion. Brent did a nerd news thing where you talked about it was, I think you called it the singularity, did you not think?
Yeah, it was a singularity.
Where-
it was going to be where artificial intelligence and human intelligence merge,
Right.
and the futurist Ray Kurzweil said that he thinks that would happen through the use of nanobots.
Right. And so I guess what I'm wondering is, would the nanobots be unleashing our potential, or are they just adding on to what we can already do? That would be an intriguing question to ask somebody who knows way more about science than I do.
If they were unlocking or enhancing,
Well, yeah, because it's two very different things, right?
Hey, do we want to add water to this?
I don't want to add water to this one.
I think it tastes delicious the way it is.
yeah,
but I
I'm
wanna
liking
offer-
this one neat. I don't think it needs ice or anything.
All right.
Yeah, carry on. Because there was a movie with John Travolta, and I think it was called Power. It was like a one-word title.
No, it was.
I
You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, it was. What
What was it called?
He gets the flashes, and
Yeah.
he's unlocking his brain.
Yeah.
Oh, crud.
Oh man,
I know what you're talking about. I've seen it many times.
And you know what? There's that one,
And it turns out it's a brain tumor.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then there's the one with Scarlett Johansson where she's playing a character called Lucy.
Yes,
Yeah.
in fact, that was the movie. It was called Lucy.
Yeah. Lucy is the one where her brain starts to unlock. And
because
it throws up
because
that
of
big
some
percentage.
drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The drugs get loose on her system, but there's this big percentage that just bam right on
But
the
again,
screen.
so you and I, we've all talked about, like in the superpowers episode, we talked about having superpowers, but then there's a price to be paid, right?
Right.
So,
What's that one with, what's his name? The one where he takes a pill and gets real smart?
Bradley Cooper,
Bradley Cooper.
Unlimited.
Unlimited, yeah.
So this is what I think about if I go down that rabbit hole, if I go in search of unleashing brain potential far enough, I get to, we all unlock our potential, but some of us are still psychopathic murderers
Yeah.
and narcissists and
Yeah.
racists and jackasses, and the whole world goes to hell overnight. I'm Irish. I always go to the worst case.
That sounds like the movie Idiosyncrasy.
Oh, no, Idiocracy.
Idiocracy.
Yeah, I auditioned for that movie, by the way.
You did?
I auditioned in front of Mike Judge for that movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was a weird. That was an Austin, Texas audition.
Wow.
Years and years and years ago, and I was just basically playing a dumbass cop from the year when was it Luke Wilson who played the main character?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who wakes up and he's interacting with the dumb world that he lives in now.
Yeah.
And Mike Judge was prescient, man. I'm telling you, he had gone in search of the future of humanity, and I personally think he nailed it. It wasn't my favorite movie, but still.
All right. Well, I have a random nerdy facts, and it's about the movie Idiocracy. So the costume designer, they were designing the costumes and stuff, and they were trying to find shoes. Like, what would everyone be wearing in the future? And something came across the desk of this costume designer, and she saw this, and she goes, "Those are the dumbest things I've ever seen. These are the perfect shoes. No one in a million years would ever wear these shoes because they are so stupid." And guess what shoes those are?
Crocs. I did not know that nerdy fact. I just completely pulled that out of my
the show,
ass.
they're all wearing Crocs.
That is so funny.
But the best futuristic shoes of all time, Back to the Future 2, Power Laces.
And weren't they Reeboks?
They were Nike.
They were Nike?
Nike, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was the product placement.
And
Nice.
they actually produced a series of those with power laces, with lights.
Yeah.
But you could pick them up for $10,000 a pair.
Nice. I'll take two.
Yeah, make sure you're an adult, kids,
I
because
want different colors, obviously.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever go in search of something mysterious?
Yeah, China, tunneling.
Did you try to dig to China?
So, my friends and I found some water drainage systems in our neighborhood in the 80s, and we went down into those water drainage. That's the right term for them, right? Water drainage, because they're not
Sewers.
sewer. Well,
No.
I think sewer, and
So
think
the
like,
correct term
like
is
waste.
culvert.
Okay, so we went
You
down
went into the culverts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I have a picture of it, too. I went back years later to take a picture of the one we slipped down in. And my cousin Jeff and I, we went down there with a flashlight and a glow-in-the-dark He-Man sword.
This is like It Part 2. Like he's going to look for it again.
Well, we used to do
as
this
an
too.
adult.
That was one of the initiations in our neighborhood. If you want to hang out with us cool kids, ours dumped out into the creek at the woods at the end of our neighborhood. So you would get in the little drains, crawl in there, get in the pipes, have your flashlight, crawl through all the cat turds and crap that are in there, and all the way out to the big. By the time you got to the creek, the pipe was almost big enough to stand up. You had to hunch over a little bit.
We didn't make it that far.
Yeah.
I mean,
What happened, Micah?
We went through the sewer. I mean, it just got increasingly darker and darker. And it was concerning that there was never any light source or something coming from another drain. And we just turned our asses around. And
Well, you may not have thought about this at the time, but those were not made for little kids to crawl around in.
you know what? If you actually go look at a lot of them, they're so skinny that you can't get not Ralphie.
Georgie?
Georgie, thank you. Georgie, I guess he could get down in there. And at the time, I guess we were the same size. We could get down in there. But I went back as an adult to look at this drainage, and it was big. It was wide. You could actually shuffle your body down there pretty easily. Not as an adult, but a kid, easily.
Yeah.
Did you ever go in search of anything, Brent? Wait, hang on a minute. Micah, what were you going in search of when you went down there?
China.
Oh, China, that's right.
You thought you were going to find China?
How old were you?
10.
And at 10 years old, you thought these pipes may very well lead to China.
Totally. I mean, because it went into a darkness and it just kept on going. And no matter how much you cast your light down there, you couldn't get the light to extend down the pipe to any kind of reasonable amount that would suggest that there's a goal at the end.
See, I would not have been looking for China, but I would have been afraid because I had read Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Ah.
And so I knew I wasn't going to get to China. But what if I discovered, a land where dinosaurs still roam because the volcanic
There
heat
you
had
go.
saved them?
Or maybe even a dead Balrog as he fell down into
Oh. What'd you go in search of, Brent?
In the sewers?
Or anywhere?
In search
Did
in
you ever
general.
go in search of anything?
I mean, Bigfoot in the woods at the end of our house and end of our neighborhood. We went down there with a purpose. Flashlights and machetes and all kinds of, made spears out of sticks.
So
whatever
you
we
were
could.
not there to be friends with Bigfoot.
We were there to protect ourselves, and Bigfoot turned out to not be friendly.
Yeah.
I mean, we
not
were young.
everything can end at Harry
We
and the
were
Hendersons.
young, but we weren't stupid.
I mean, if we had had John Lithgow with us,
Yeah.
I mean, we might have been okay.
I think John Lithgow can diffuse any situation.
Unless he's kicking Bigfoot out of his house,
Well,
which is heartbreaking.
It
I mean,
was
I think that was more
heartbreaking.
heartbreaking than Old Yeller.
No, it wasn't. But okay. I went in search of treasure.
You suck at improv.
No, I'm actually really good at it. There are just times you gotta shut that shit down. Yeah. No. You're comparing Old Yeller to, what was that movie?
Harry and the Hendersons.
Harry and the Hendersons. There is no comparison whatsoever.
It's heartbreaking. And nobody had to die.
That's what heartbreaks.
You're right. There's no comparison. It's Harry and the Hendersons every time.
Thank you, Brent.
I went in search of treasure. So in my neighborhood, there was a rumor that an old gentleman had died and had buried, he had a plot of land next to the land that his house sat on. And probably one of my friends, started a rumor that quickly caught like wildfire around the neighborhood, that he had buried his earthly belongings, which were very valuable, in the plot of land next to his house. And so that was one of my first encounters with the police, actually.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, do tell.
It was late at night, and me and my buddy Steve, and I think there was at least one or two cohorts with us. And
the legendary Steve.
we were completely unprepared to go searching for treasure in the middle of the night. We barely had any light sources. I don't even think we had a proper shovel. I think we had like gardening tools. And no idea where to start looking.
You're never going to be able to bury that body.
We didn't have anybody in our crew that was like, well, maybe we should go get a metal detector, you guys, or something like that. We were just like, well, no, we can dig with this, and we're young and strong. We will dig. And yeah, it was 2:00 in the morning. It was definitely past midnight. And all of a sudden, we are surrounded. I say surrounded. There were two of them. We were surrounded by the police.
They were really fat.
And here was the really embarrassing part for me. This was across the street from my house.
Oh my gosh.
So, and because it was small town Conroe, both the cops knew me because my mom worked for the sheriff's office.
Oh, bummer.
I was like, yeah, and they knew why we were out there. They knew. And they were like, fellas, no. That is a rumor. I don't know who started that rumor, and then I swear my buddy Steve kind of looked furtively to the side. Like, wait a minute, did you start that shit? But yeah, I went in search of treasure.
Did
And
you
then,
ever?
then they take you home, and at 4:00 in the morning, you see 2 cops out in the field out there digging around.
That would have been funny.
You know what? I always wanted an adventure searching for something like that, a la
Goonies.
Geordie LaChance from Stand By Me.
Oh, dead body.
Yes. You know, they heard about a
You guys
rumor.
want to see a
of some-
dead body? Yeah.
You guys want to see a dead body? I thought that was just the pinnacle, and I think maybe that might have been some of my incentive to go searching for things as well. You know, going off camping somewhere just to find something.
Well,
Yeah.
I think when you're a kid, I mean, even despite the difficult upbringing, Mike and you and I have talked about our mutual shitty upbringings.
Yep.
But when you're a kid, there is this innate sense of optimism that something good might happen.
Absolutely.
But you got to take a chance in order for something good to happen, right?
because it's a need to escape the shit that you're in.
right.
And there's got to be something better out there.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think one of the appeals to the In Search Of show, especially for me and my dad, because we watched it together all the time, was it's a sense of escapism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because of the topics they would talk about. I mean, you know, ancient mysteries of the pyramids and
Oh, you said
aliens coming
pyramids.
down,
You remember
yeah.
Easter Island? Remember that
Oh yeah,
one?
yeah. There's one about the Easter Island massacre, I think it was called.
Yes, it was called the Easter
Yeah.
Island Massacre.
Yeah.
But they talk about I think they're called the Mokai, the statues.
Yep. Yep.
And there were all kinds of crazy, speculations about where they came from and how they got there. Same with Stonehenge, right?
Yeah.
Well, the technology of the time, it would have been impossible for these guys to carry these stones all the way and whatever. And then later we find out it's totally plausible. You can absolutely do that with the technology of the time.
How awesome was it in the new Time Bandits TV
Stonehenge?
series with the
Yes.
Stonehenge thing?
That was actually really funny. That was one of the few bright spots of the show for me.
Oh my
actually.
gosh, totally. Go watch that.
Yeah, because it didn't get renewed.
Yeah.
Nope.
I'm waiting for it to come on Netflix or something. I
Oh, because you don't have Apple?
don't have
Apple
TV.
TV is going to hold the reins.
Well, I
on
know
that.
how you feel about iPhone, so it doesn't surprise me that you don't have the streaming service.
Well, I had Apple TV for a little while, and I got it just to watch Ted Lasso.
Oh, I love Ted.
And then, of course, they released Foundation. I'm like, okay, well, I have to
Oh,
keep my
yeah.
subscription now.
And have you seen Silo?
I have seen Silo. Yeah.
That was a good one, too, I
yeah.
thought.
Yeah. They've got a lot of good shows. I will admit, they've got a lot of great shows, actually. So-
Yep. And you know what? You don't have to have an Apple TV device to actually access it.
No. I mean, I've got one of those smart TVs, and I've got that subscription on there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I just do the free trials whenever the free trials pop up. I just do that, and I
Yep.
can.
So I do want to talk a little bit about the transition that occurred to me because, In Search Of was perfect for me as a kid. Then you grow up and you realize that was just pure entertainment.
Oh yeah, that show was crazy because so much of the evidence was anecdotal. First of all,
Yep.
and then I loved how they would take these actors to portray historical figures,
Yes.
to back up whatever story they
Yes,
were trying to
the
push. on you.
reenactments.
Oh my gosh, it was so funny.
The little old man sitting on the edge of the crater for the asteroid that hit and all of his ideas in that episode that you sent us.
I didn't watch that.
Oh. Fantastic.
I just sent it to you guys.
He was spilling out all kinds
I
of
intended
quote
to
unquote
watch it.
science.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
to Larry's point earlier, I mean, or maybe it was Brent. I can't remember.
He wasn't listening.
It was that
What?
moment where it was like they have a basis of science and knowledge at that time
Yeah,
without explanation further beyond what we have today. So he's explaining things the best way he can. He sounds very smart.
yeah. Well, I mean, it was written for him. He's an actor.
He studied his lines.
But you're right. That show was entertainment. It was never. I mean, like I said, they had a disclaimer at the beginning of the show. This is one possible story
Yeah.
or whatever. It's not the necessarily the actual story or whatever.
I thought that was considerate.
Yeah, well, they were CYA at that point because they knew. I mean, seriously, the show was great and entertaining and everything, but 90% of it was just anecdotal evidence. There
I
was
feel
no
like they had
science behind it.
a little bit more freedom because they didn't have a comment section.
Oh man, well, absolutely, 100%, Michael. That's not only funny, but completely true.
Right?
It's funny
like-
because it's true.
Yeah, like people couldn't immediately troll you and just hate
Yeah.
on you.
Yeah.
You know,
They had to
you'd have
wait for the
write-
letter to
Well, now
be
you
mailed
can.
in.
You'd have to write a nasty letter to the editor.
now you can
right?
on YouTube because all the episodes are there. So now you
Yeah.
go, comment to your heart's delight on YouTube. Yeah.
Oh my god!
Oh my gosh,
That's
Brent's
so
gonna
funny.
tear them apart.
Yeah.
And plus, I mean, literally, you could get away with a lot more. Like that disclaimer that they have on that show would not fly today.
Mm-hmm.
They would have to say so much more. And by the way, I'm really glad. Like, In Search of came back for a little bit, didn't it?
It did. Actually, I was going to say there were 3 incarnations of it. So the original was 77 to 82, I believe.
Okay.
And then later on, Mitch Pileggi hosted it, who was, what was his character's name on X-Files? Skinner?
Oh, okay.
Director Skinner?
Yep.
Or Walter Skinner. And then later on, I think in 2018, there was a resurgence of it, and Zachary Quinto,
yeah.
which I thought was cool because it kind of bookended with
Yes,
both generations
Spock
of
and
Spock.
Spock, yeah.
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 But I mean, like, it would like we live now in.
Sorry.
You were so good the whole show. Oh, and look, you've got
Reset. Done.
You've got Popper Stopper Dick of the Claws.
Oh my gosh, I've been doing so well not talking with my hands the whole time. And bam!
We now live in a world where, like, everything is a conspiracy theory to some people.
Uh-huh.
Everything is ridiculed.
Yep.
And, it's not just ridiculed. It is people genuinely believe the craziest shit now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And I don't mean like they do it for entertainment. They believe it.
Yeah, your idea is wrong.
Based on no evidence, no
Right.
empirical evidence
Just
whatsoever.
seeing a reel
it's
on
what they
social.
want to believe,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Now, I think that's perfectly okay when you're a kid. That's why I love that show so much. It fired my imagination. It gave me ideas for stories. It made me get into more different, kinds of media that explore that kind of stuff, like comic books, movies, television, later video games. But as an adult, you put your childish things away and you accept the world as it is. And you use reason and logic and whatever. And if you want to entertain ridiculous shit in the privacy of your own home, by all means, go and do it.
Yeah, but that was the greatest thing about it is that you were given an idea and your brain was allowed to roll with it. You were able to go and go and go.
Again,
but today,
that's great as a child.
As a child, as an adult of that time period. Nowadays, if you get something and you latch onto it and your brain starts to explore, then you have a troll that comes out of nowhere and says, "You're full of crap."
I don't think that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is people who want to believe in things, so they decide that they're real.
Yeah, flat earth.
And I'm not just talking about aliens or whatever. But yeah, flat earth, right? But I'm talking about
Spaghetti
people who are
monster.
in positions where they can actually influence policy and things like that. And I think that's dangerous. And I think it's like, look, guys, In Search of was a great show. It was an entertainment show. And just like now, you have things that are they're ostensibly entertainment, but they're being passed off as something else.
Yeah.
They're being passed off as journalism or whatever.
Well, now it's hard to tell the difference between, there are ads and propaganda pieces that are passed off as news stories.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh,
Right?
the title of
All
every
over the place.
news
Yeah,
article
it's
these
crazy.
days.
And by the way, so Brent texted Micah and I yesterday, I think it was, a completely AI generated podcast. Mm-hmm. That terrifies me.
I didn't listen to it. I was afraid to give that
Dude,
guy likes
I played-
or listens.
No, well, it was an
or
author. It was an author.
plays.
He wrote an article on chip manufacturing and stuff a couple years ago. He put it through the Google AI thing, and it generated this podcast. And they were talking about the article, and I let my wife listen to it for like 5 minutes, and she's like, "Okay, that's all nerd to me. I don't understand it." I go, "No, you don't understand. That was completely AI generated." And the intonation, the banter between the two hosts, the male and the female host, you would not know. Like, the only reason I could tell at some points that it was AI generated is because I knew it was. But if I didn't know it was, I probably would never figure that out. I mean,
And
it
that's
was
the
so
terrifying.
realistic.
In the
Yeah.
21st century, the fact that we now have to go in search of reality,
In search of, facts.
that terrifies me.
Yeah.
I mean, like, of course, you worry about more things as an adult because you have more things to worry about. That is never something I've ever thought I'd have to, like, literally worry about.
Yeah.
Worry about whether or not my children are choosing to just believe what they want to believe, and then they find the silos that cater to their confirmation bias,
Yep.
or they make a different choice, which is I'm going to choose to be skeptical until I can actually. But it's becoming harder and harder to
It
determine.
really is, because it's easier to just believe whatever you want to believe.
It's so much easier.
So whenever my kids went off to college, that's one of the things I talked to them about was you're going to get presented with people's versions of things.
Right.
Like history is someone's version of what happened.
Yes.
Just because a professor tells you this is how it is doesn't mean that's how it is. You need to question everything, and that's what you're supposed to learn at college. Is you're not supposed to just absorb all these random things. You're supposed to learn how to think.
Well, exactly. And then first of all, I think they should be teaching that in primary school.
Yeah.
Or public school. But in addition to learning how to think, it is learning how to listen to other points of view,
Right.
be skeptical about it,
Yeah.
do your own freaking research,
Yep.
and decide whether or not you agree or disagree.
That applies to everything that we're talking about tonight, too. I mean, I would love to hear from the
Applies to
listeners.
everything, everywhere.
I would love
Yeah.
to hear. I would love to hear from the listeners on this one as well. I mean, we're talking about different things that we've heard of and things that we've discussed, and maybe something that we said was wrong.
We say
point us
wrong.
out.
We
I
say
say
wrong things all the
stuff
time.
all the time.
Yeah, we do
all the time.
We do zero fact checking and prep for the show. All the fact checking comes
after the fact, and it usually is just shared between us where I'm
Yeah.
like, guys, I got that name completely wrong. I got that actor completely wrong. I got that year completely wrong.
Well, usually what happens is I'm going to cut this part out. It's totally wrong.
Hey, about the cigars, fellas. The more I go into this, am I actually going to make it to the San Andreas?
Yeah, I'm almost there.
I feel-
and my
I'm-
draw has gotten perfect now.
Mine too. I feel like I'm gonna get there, and I'm gonna be smoking a nub, and I'm like gonna be done.
Well, I am technically not in the final third. I'm very close, but I'm telling you right now, it's starting to get dark and oily for me.
Oh yeah, because it's drawing across that.
I'm definitely starting to pick up that San Andreas right now.
Well, which is
And I
definitely.
may burn my fingertips, but yeah, I'm definitely.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm like maybe a 16th of an inch away from the San Andreas, but I am definitely getting that now.
I'm a half an inch away.
Sounds like a personal problem.
Are you hitting harder than me?
I always hit harder than you, Micah.
I have no response for that.
I have no response.
We're not at the point of the show where we say just say dumb things.
Yeah.
I really want to get to the San Andreas, though. I'm not going to quit till I get past this Candela.
We were talking about ghosts earlier.
Yes.
I want to delve into that a little bit further because I have always had a hard time believing in ghosts. Anybody that really knows me knows that they can start talking about ghost stories and various other stories that they've had, and I just I bow out of the conversation very, very.
You just tune out.
What makes you more skeptical toward the idea of ghosts than any of the other things we talked about tonight?
The idea of ghosts has always felt very reaching for me, and there's only one moment in my entire life where I was having a little bit of a hard time disproving the kind of crap that I have just said. Yeah, that's all full of crap. I don't believe in that stuff.
Well, first of all, let me just say,
Because there's a little story if you're interested.
yeah, I want to hear the story, and then I'll go back to what I was going to say.
Okay, cool. So, I was in the French Quarter, and we were on a ghost tour, and we actually frequent the ghost tours when we go back to New Orleans, and I go back quite a lot.
Really?
Yeah, my wife and I, we love the Quarter.
I'm a huge fan of New Orleans. There are way more fun places.
Oh, there
also
are.
besides
First
the
of all,
Quarter.
Totally.
it's called Narlands.
No, it's called
Narlands. Narlands.
There's no R there. It's
Nolans.
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 Narlands is like That's in
That's somebody's
that's
bake shop out on the
that's
lake.
in
Wait a
Michigan
minute.
somewhere.
That's something out of a. That's something
That's
out of
Narland's bait and sandwich shop.
Dude,
out
Yar,
The Narlands?
yar, nar.
Yarp.
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 All right, so I'm in the quarter and we're on a ghost tour, and it's a lot of fun to listen because each one of the people that do these tours have a different way of presenting it.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the people that do it have no belief in the stories.
It's a job.
Yeah, it's a job. They rattle off the story that they've been told to talk about, and then there are other ones where, like the last guy that we had was walking around with a bag of gree-grees. Are you familiar with?
I am. Yes.
Gree-grease? I'm not.
Okay, a gree-gree is a combination of herbs, and in the voodoo religion is blessed in some sort of a satchel.
It's like a totem. It's so think of an American Indian medicine bag.
Gotcha.
Yes, exactly that. Thank you, Larry.
It holds all the holy relics, the sacred relics that are very personal to you or your family or whatever.
Okay, so in this case, though, they're mostly herbs and then blessed by somebody in the voodoo religion.
Like a Santeria witch or
Yes,
something like that.
exactly that.
Don't practice Santeria.
Thank you.
I
knew you were gonna do that.
crystal ball. All right, so we're walking the streets and he's telling the stories, and we finally get up to Muriel's. And if you're not familiar, Muriel's is a restaurant off of Jackson Square.
Mm-hmm.
And the quick story on that is
Is that the seafood place?
well, all of them are seafood places, but that.
I think I know what you're talking. I think I was there last time I was in New Orleans because you like walk out and you're like 20 feet and there's the square, right?
Yeah, so it's like
Square,
if you were standing
Across from the big church.
if you were
Okay,
standing
yep.
at the river and you were looking at the church,
Yep.
if you look directly to the right,
Yep.
Muriel's on the
Yep,
corner.
I've been there.
So there's
Yep.
a story about a guy that used to own this place, and apparently his soul never rested, and so the restaurant opened. It was like after he had passed, they tried to reopen it. The ghost was tormenting the place, so they closed it. Another person bought it. They tormented it, like the ghost tormented again.
Who are you going to call?
Not the Ghostbusters, because they didn't. Actually, they actually got a little.
In Nolans, it'd be called Ghostbusters.
They decided to basically compromise with the ghost. So the current owners.
Well, it's great that it was an agreeable ghost.
Apparently he wasn't agreeable.
He was not agreeable
Oh.
until Muriel's decided to set up another table inside of the restaurant
For the ghost.
strictly for the ghost.
Oh.
They lit it, they set the place setting, and then apparently the ghost likes to play tricks on everything. So my wife was sitting there, she ordered a cappuccino. The bar is literally 5 feet from us where they're making it. They bring the cappuccino, it is ice cold. She's like, I got to send this back. It's ice cold. And the waiter's like, I'm so sorry. He sends it back. He takes it back, and he goes and gets another one, brings it back. It's ice cold again. And all the while this is happening, I'm sitting there, and I'm feeling this brush against the back of my neck, like somebody
just touched the back of my neck.
like somebody's taking a fingernail and raking it across the back of my neck very gently. And I'm like, God, like, you're trying to swat a fly or something like that.
That happened to me once in Cancun. I was sitting at a bar, and all of a sudden, it felt like these fingers were going through my hair. And I turned around, and it was a drunk dude playing with me.
You're not a ghost. You're a drunk guy. And I'm not your girlfriend.
Come on, drunk guy. So we have that experience at Muriel's, and we're on the ghost tour the next day. And that's when the guy starts talking about all these various things, and he starts telling us about all the things at Muriel's that happens where the ghost likes to work its way around the restaurant, even though it has its own table, and just kind of toy with the customers. Like, I don't know, scraping his nails across the back of people's necks. And my head just goes, boink, what? And I'm having that moment like, I don't believe in ghosts, but by the way, that happened.
I think they're all in cahoots, and they have like these little micro air cannons in the walls. And they're just blowing
Well,
them
I
at you.
mean, go to the Haunted Mansion at Disney, dude.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do that. I didn't do that.
There's
did.
still time, Micah.
Yeah.
Still time.
Yeah.
Although I will say,
$11,000 later.
if you're going to Disney World, the best time to go is October, November, because it's Food and Wine Fest.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. We went there last year.
Absolutely the best time.
That
I
was
didn't know that
amazing.
was a thing.
Yeah, it's
Oh, yeah.
amazing.
All right, my
So
wife is going to go nuts
So Food
over
and Wine
that.
Fest is at Epcot, and what you do, I highly recommend you stay on property, so it's easy to get in and out, and you just take because they have like the
Yeah,
you know,
the rail.
they
We
have
stayed at the
well,
Contemporary.
they have the continents there at Epcot, right?
Oh,
the
yeah.
big spots,
The countries.
the countries.
Yeah.
But then for Food and Wine Fest, they bring in a bunch of other countries that have little kiosks.
Nice.
And the way we did it, and they probably will take cards now, but back then it was mostly cash. So
They
you go
take
to the
cards.
ATM in the morning.
Yeah, they take cards. then.
Okay, so you gather up your stuff, and then you just eat and drink your way around
Well,
the world.
or if you're staying on
Yeah.
property and you get those bracelets, you can just charge it to your bracelet.
Those are the most dangerous things in the world.
It's like tokens at Dave and Buster's.
Oh my
know,
gosh,
it's
you just
funny.
never know. It's like, oh my gosh, I had such a
Well,
fantastic
we
time.
actually
How did I
went there-
spend $20,000?
We actually went there last year and tried some amazing food, and my thing was I wanted to try the beers from all the countries.
Oh yeah.
And then of course they have wines from different countries. But of course the wines they serve you are like the cheapest wine that country has to offer. Right? So I do not recommend trying the wines if you're a
No,
wine
the
aficionado.
beer
But
is
the beer was
great.
good.
Yeah.
But the night we were there doing it, Billy Ocean was in concert, so we got to watch Billy Ocean.
Get up, young queen.
Yeah.
Feel the same thing.
Get into my car. And I got to tell you, he's in his 80s, and he was up there rocking it. He was jumping around.
He's in
and
his
moving.
80s?
He's in his
Get it,
80s.
Billy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm about to fact check that. By the way, I just hit the final third. Boys.
I did too.
All right.
I am in my wheelhouse now.
Oh my goodness.
I know. Yep.
Wow.
Man, having 3 different experiences in a cigar is a treat.
It's pretty fun.
There's the oil.
Yep.
There's the
cocoa.
cocoa. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good.
And this pairs. This final third pairs exceptionally well with the bourbon. by the
I'm
way.
gonna break. You said you went last year.
Yeah.
Last year, Billy Ocean was 73.
Okay. Well, he aged 10 years in a year.
Man, that guy
He
was
ages
like
in dog years.
102
Hey,
years old,
hey,
and he was rocking
I
it.
would like to point out I got the 3 part of that correct.
Oh, this is so good. I'm enjoying this. Well,
You know, 3 is a magic,
it's a magic number. Yes, it is.
I thought that was 1.
What's wrong with
No,
you?
1's the loneliest number. I'm sorry.
That's Three Dog Night. We're Schoolhouse Rock. And that's all for this week, folks. I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap this
Yeah, I
up.
think that's a good idea.
this has been an interesting conversation. Thank you guys so much for being a part of it. We are in the final third of the Three Wrappers cigar from Faustino. Again, they're local to the Dallas area, and they're located in Casa Linda and Royce City. Is
That's
that right?
correct. That's correct.
So by all means, you want to go and check them out. Give them your business. The cigars are very, very good. And we've been drinking the Still Austin Musician, which is a high rye,
Yep.
super tasty.
Oh my gosh, so
You
tasty.
didn't need to add water to it.
We didn't.
Very, very much enjoyed that one as well.
It's amazing.
So what have you been in search of? We'd love to know. Drop us a line at nerdherfers.com or comment on our Instagram page at nerdherfers. If there's a weird, mysterious thing that we didn't talk about tonight and you think we should, hit us in the comments section. Let us know. Thank you so much for being a part of the show tonight. As always, I am Larry Brantley along with Micah Donahoe
Live long and prosper.
and Brent Williams
Keep your shirt on.
saying the truth is out there. Good night, everybody.
This has been a production of Nerd Herfers, copyright 2024, all rights reserved. No portion of this broadcast may be used without permission. Please visit nerdherfers.com for more information and full legal disclaimer, you nerd.
I don't practice Santeria.
I ain't got no crystal ball.